And we're starting off with a time-lapse today. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Empires. Welcome back to the ancient capital, which now has a slightly more complete building. I've been doing some thinking about what I want to be ruined around here and what I want to be a little bit more complete. And honestly, I want to have a big building here because I want this to be the museum for the ancient capital. And maybe this can have been a stately home beforehand, maybe it can have been like a mansion of some kind, but maybe because it's stood the test of time and is largely complete here, give or take a bit of wear and tear on the materials, and I might maybe do some ruination here and there. But I think what we've got here is a really solid foundation for a museum. We could put a basement in. We have a little bit of attic space up here. Let me see if I can get up here with the scaffolding. I've been putting the ceiling in, which you see doesn't appear in the time-lapse because I didn't really decide on an interior for this place up until now. And hello, all right? Just gonna bang my head on the ceiling. Sorry about that. But no, up here we have a bit of an attic space. Maybe we can use this for storage or something like that. We can put some of the more obscure relics up here until we've determined what exactly they are and what they're for. But I like having a nice open floor plan down here. And this is probably going to be a museum that's open to the public. Maybe people can make donations or something like that, but I'm not going to charge them for entry necessarily. And I want to have a couple of fairly large exhibits around here, maybe a little bit of art up on the walls, and maybe a couple of partitions here and there, because otherwise this does just feel like one big empty room. But I like the idea of having a place where we can bring and preserve artifacts from the server. And not just individual items, maybe larger things as well. And I have one in particular in mind that I want to move to the museum today. And if you've been paying attention to the series, I think you know what's coming. Because over here in Tumbletown, a while back, the sheriff discovered something very, very important. And something that I'd honestly never seen before. I had never previously seen a fossil with diamond ore in it. And so we're going to try and find that fossil site today. I'm pretty sure... Oh. That hasn't been dealt with yet. Okay, better stay away from that. Hopefully I can make it on down here, but I'm pretty sure the fossil is down in one of these caves somewhere, and I can follow the torches and hopefully we'll end up in the right sort of place. I think maybe it was down one of these caves. Is that it over there? Nope, that's an abandoned mine shaft. It was at deep slate level, that much I remember. I just need to figure out which way we went in order to find it. Maybe down here? Yes, okay, that's it. Perfect, perfect. So, the fossil. And I think, judging by the size of this, the scale of this, this might actually be the right sort of size to go in one side of the museum. Either that or we can hang it from the ceiling. But I think this thing needs a few more visitors. I think we haven't really figured out what to do with it down here, and in Tumbletown, or this is in the desert, basically adjacent to Tumbletown, I don't know if it's going to get that many eyeballs on it just being down here in its original situation. And so, as the server's resident archaeologist and paleontologist now with the fossil here, I feel like I should probably move this to somewhere that we're going to get a few more eyeballs on it. We're going to take it to the museum. Now, before we do that, of course, we do need to make sure that we rebuild this exactly as it is here, which may or may not be exactly how Jimmy found it. So we're going to use our holographic imaging tool, Limatica, and we're going to take all of the coordinates here. I think we need to go that way. Yes, perfect. Okay, and this should give us a pretty accurate image of the fossil here. We'll take a screenshot of the signs to make sure that we get the text correct on those as well, and we should be able to tear this entire thing down, put it back in our preservation kit, and rebuild it over at the museum. Well, that looks a little strange now, doesn't it? You can kind of see the marks where I've carved out the fossil very, very carefully. Got a silk touch pickaxe the entire time, so we've got all the diamond ore from this as well, and some of that was my diamond ore in the first place, so I don't honestly mind reclaiming it all that much. But I think it's going to be fantastic to have the fossil in pride of place at our museum. We'll definitely put it on one side of that room if we can, or maybe, like I said, dangle it from the ceiling if we can manage it. But for now, I've only got 10 fireworks left and I've got to make my way out of here, so wish me luck. I think I remember seeing daylight over this direction though, so yep, we can make our way out here through the mesa of Tumbletown, and really wasn't too far away at all, was it? Well, I'm going to leave Jimmy to deal with the warden, because apparently there is one around here, and I'm going to make my way back over to the museum. And back at the museum, I have made a pretty interesting discovery, because now I have the ability, if I place in a couple of these, very cool, okay, we can actually modify the schematic of the fossil, which is good because honestly, building this entire thing up using deep slate here, I need to remove a lot of this deep slate section, because otherwise, once we get to the bones, I have to cram a lot of deep slate around them or we won't be able to see them. But I can remove these deep slate blocks from the schematic, allowing me to better visualize where the bones go and figure out that we can just about, I can't believe it's actually this big, but we can just about fit this entire thing in here in a glass case. I'm thinking we might put a slightly more elegant glass case around the outside. We might do something with glass panes instead of full blocks, and maybe leave the top open since it will have the ceiling more or less directly above it, make it feel a bit more like it's in a tank than in a complete case. But yeah, I like this. I think we're gonna go with it. And there it is, reproduced in its entirety, including the plaque with the correct date. I've messed up the 022, no, 2022 actually. But the blocks are all there. I included a little bit of the deep slate that's going to be used, of course, to fasten the bones together. Took pains to make sure it was in the natural orientation for the deep slate, but I do like the fact that we've been able to clear out all of the rock from around it and just let the fossil itself show. And the zombies are lining up to get into the museum. Honestly, I've had so many pillager patrols spawning around here as though they're queuing up to be my first customers or something. But there we go, 2022, the correct date for this fossil's discovery, and hopefully Jimmy will be proud of me for preserving this in a more permanent place where somebody can come along and take a look at it if they want to. I'm going to do something with the floor here, and I'm not entirely certain what's going to go on the opposite side of the room. So maybe some paintings and stuff can go around here, maybe a couple of artifacts, but if you folks in the comments have any ideas of what I should put in here, anything else that I should go and collect from elsewhere on the server, then let me know. I'm not about to steal Joel's entire base or anything, so yeah, that's definitely not going to happen. The calcite thing is over and done with. That mountain is still covered in glass, but I think I'm going to leave it there for the time being, and I need to do something about the foundation here to make that feel a bit more natural, but aside from that, I think we're doing pretty well. So I've been doing a little bit more thinking about what we could put in the museum, and for now I think I've come up with a couple of good exhibits, which may just end up being temporary. But aside from the fossil over here, which is starting to annoy me the more I look at it, to be honest, because there's some stuff that isn't centered, there's some stuff that is centered on the build but isn't centered on the rest of the room, and this gold plaque in the middle is slightly off, and it's, I don't know. I feel like we might have to come up with some other solution for this in the fullness of time. But for now, over here, I have a couple of really neat little exhibits. I've got some stuff that I brought back from an ancient city a while ago, which I still haven't finished raiding, so I would really love to go and raid that and see what else we can dig up from there. But we have an echo shard, we have a fragment of a music disc, you know, the kind of stuff that you'd expect to see in a museum, and frankly, the kind of stuff that I'm not in a rush to use, because while I would love to have enough echo shards to put together a recovery compass, I don't think between us on the server we have all that many of them, and I expect a recovery compass might be something somebody would want to keep for themselves, so maybe one of those can go there. I'm leaving this item frame blank for now, and maybe something like that can go in there, maybe something different can go in there, maybe you folks will have some good ideas for that. Of course, we have some rare blocks over here, some ancient debris and some blackstone. Gilded blackstone, sorry. I think I figured those would be good things to put over here in the box, and I might change up the glass, but I ended up going with full glass blocks over here eventually because the glass panes that I'm using here will stick to the sides of blocks. They'll connect to the sides of full blocks, and I didn't really want that to ruin the look of all of this. So it really does look like they're inside a glass case with completely thin walls thanks to the connected texture, and maybe I'll do something to make the case look a little bit more interesting. But of course over here, as you've probably already noted, we have two artifacts from the trial of Solidarity Gaming versus Smallish Beans. We have the player head in question, the sheriff toy, which I figured was worth preserving in here just in case the rest of the stock gets impounded or something, and we have the emerald ore mini block, the player head emerald ore that I was given as part of my fee as being the judge for that trial. So there's one more thing I wanted to add over here, which is of course a painting, and I figured we could put this painting up in here. This is a very special painting. On loan from the Mythical Sausage collection, we have St. Pearl, a Flower of Laurelin original. Very excited to have this hanging up in the museum. And so now people can come in and see this fabulous work of art, and of course I'll leave a link in the description to the original because it's really worth looking at, although it's going to make the most sense if you've seen Mythical Sausage's recent videos. But we do have a big gap over here, so I think think that we can probably leave room for another larger exhibit, so if you can think of anything that, to not to get too Indiana Jones on you, belongs in a museum, then once again, please do let me know. I also wanted to pop over to the Great Bridge real fast because Scott Smajer put this up, and finally the video came out, so I feel comfortable showing it on camera. Scott has put a Chromia statue and a couple of ambassadors here. We have a couple of llamas. They don't have names yet, but they are the official ambassadors of Chromia to the rest of the empires, and they're here stationed on the Great Bridge in case anybody has any questions about the most colorful empire on the server. So there it is. Very excited to have those on here, and a great contribution, I think. I love seeing statues. He's modified the tower a little bit to open it out, which people are welcome to do, even though a couple of them have, of course, left the original constructs in place. I think it's nice to fiddle with the structure of the tower a little bit, open this out, and make sure people feel like they are welcome at the Chromia Embassy. But over here on the Great Bridge, I've been doing a little bit of digging. I've been doing a little bit of landscaping over here. I really want to open out the space behind the Great Bridge doors, behind the gatehouse here, so that people can feel like there is an entrance to my empire. And of course, I've been using it to age all of the copper that I used in the museum roof. But once again, I love the fact that as you're approaching the doors like this, you can see very little of the landscape to either side. And that's eventually going to be replaced with buildings. But as you step on through here, more of that detail becomes apparent, and we'll be able to see some buildings, maybe some statues on either side as well, masked by the doors of the gatehouse, but leading out here into the main road that's going to lead down into the ancient capital. So I'm going to collect up all of this copper as I go, and I can show you what happens to the road once it reaches the ancient capital, because it's not just going to be a straight road right into the heart of my empire, for a couple of reasons. The first of which is that right now the trajectory of this road goes basically straight through this water source and my little hole in the wall over there where I'd been keeping storage before we had the catacombs. The second reason being that I wanted this road to kind of climb up, because I'm once again obscuring the sightlines of stuff like the back of the statue over here, and I figure right here we can have almost like a balcony of sorts, some kind of area where you can step off the main road and look down into the capital itself and see all of the buildings that are laid out around here. So once again, I really want to work on the experience of exploring this space and make it feel like you can see different stuff from different points. You can get a view of the statue from over here, a couple of buildings around here maybe, but I think we can make this into a scenic stop-off point on the main road into the capital. And then the road is going to deviate this way. So I have a lot more landscaping to do because there's a massive ravine right here full of creatures, but I think we can probably deviate the road over that way, and then it will join up with the roads that I've already started digging out elsewhere around the capital. Of course, there's this one that goes alongside the museum, and this is much lower down here than the elevation of the Great Bridge, so we need the road to kind of come up to that ridge of terrain over there, and then come down the landscape over here, and then wrap back around into this main area, where now, alongside the side of the museum, you can kind of get a feel for some of the landmarks of the area. You can see the gatehouse over there, you can see the statue above the catacombs, the museum is right here, the tower is right here. Once again, these sightlines are worth playing around with and, in some cases, preserving. But I've got a lot of thinking to do, and this was a massive build, so I think we're probably going to leave things here for today. Folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of Empires. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you folks soon. Take care. Bye for now.